Scott Speedman.
Kristen Stewart. Lea Seydoux. Viggo Mortensen. And David Cronenberg.
So, you've seen the movie, right?
Does that beat the standing ovation at Con?
It actually kind of does.
Let's start at the very beginning, or as close to it as we possibly can. So, this actually stems from a script that you had been working on a few decades ago, right? And sort of put away, something called Painkillers. How correct is that?
Yeah, 1998, I wrote a script called Painkillers, and for various reasons it didn't get made, and then I got distracted, and I did a history of violence. I met Viggo. If I had made it then, it wouldn't have had Viggo. It would have been quite different, possibly better, but but I was stuck with him after that, and so it just kind of got lost, in the sands of time, I guess, and. It wasn't until Robert Lantos, my producer, encouraged me to reread it. Said, you haven't made a movie in a while. It had been 8 years since Maps to the Stars. And I said, well, why would I read it? I wrote it 20 years ago. It's got sci-fi elements. I'm sure it's completely irrelevant now. And he came up with a classic line. He said, no, it's more relevant than ever. And I thought, okay, that's good dialogue. Maybe there's some truth in it, so I'll read this script. And to my shock and surprise, it was really quite good. And I liked what it was saying. And it was actually great because it was as though it was a script from somebody else. I mean, I've forgotten so much of it. And that gives you quite an objective perspective on it.
And Mr. Lantos, you're responsible for the title change, right? Which actually sort of stems back to an earlier David Cronenberg from the 70s.
I don't think I can take responsibility or credit for that. I don't, to be perfectly transparent, I don't remember how it happened.
He basically suggested self-theft, which I thought was good. I could steal from myself because they say steal from the best. I thought, okay, I'm going to do that.
So you're dusting off this old script. What sort of evolutionary derangement did it need to go through to make it something that was, you said it was more relevant now than it was then, but was there anything that you changed or anything you wanted to sort of, I guess, for lack of a better word, update?
Well, I mean, I could say one word. It's almost like, microplastics. That had changed. When I wrote the script, nobody was talking about microplastics, and now every time you look at the news, somebody's talking about microplastics in our bloodstream, in the fish, in our flesh, and So in that sense, I was kind of ahead of the curve with the sort of plastic eaters in this movie. But I mean, art is not really prophecy. I don't think that's what it's supposed to do. So it was really by accident. I didn't change a word of the script, partly because I'm extremely lazy. So it was first draft, and that was the draft that we went into the production with the movie with. And the changes that came are the normal kind of changes. You get an actor like Viggo, who's very limited, so you have to change things. And then he's overpowered by all the other members of the cast, so you have to deal with that. Things like that.
you're such a charitable director. I mean, to throw him work like this.
Well, Viggo and I, we tell the truth,
I want to open this question up to the whole cast because there's a reason I think that Cronenbergian's an adjective, and I think this film's kind of a good reminder of what that adjective means to a lot of folks. So, as actors, what is it like to sort of plug yourself in to this world that he's constructed? I mean, I know it's still characters with wants and needs, and you have motivations, and you're telling a story, but you're also dealing with these weird H.R. Geiger meets Pee-wee's Playhouse furniture. You're dealing with all this like crazy set design. You're in a very foreign world, even if it feels slightly familiar. How's that work for you guys?
You see, they're afraid to speak.
I
Let's face
mean,
it.
for me, I'll start it off. I mean, it just didn't change that much. I mean, you just have to kind of jump in there and do it. And David creates such an amazing atmosphere. He's very sweet and nice and not this crazy, edgy artist on set that it kind of allows you to go there. And when you're going to do a Cronenberg movie, you actually don't have to worry too much. He's going to take over and do everything for you. You just have to show up and kind of make your part as good as you can. And that's all I would do anyway.
Might as well.
Yeah, well, the script is like it was. I wanted to learn it like word for word because the character that I was playing just had a real specificity, and I didn't want to fuck that up. And I'm like not normally asked to play the like weird sort of sidebar character that suddenly like I feel like she kind of encapsulates a version of a mission statement in the movie. It's like accelerated awakening and like just that art can save, even though it's subjective and maybe it's ugly and fucked up and horrible, but for this one person it sort of like was something that activated her. And to be in a Cronenberg movie is scary because you're like, wait, well, I don't want to be like the normal person in this. I want to be like, it's not like I was being like real like natural. I was intimidated. I was like, do I do a weird voice? Do I do anything more than what's like on the page? I also think it was so fun to watch this movie because it was very clear how it made me feel. I was like, I know exactly what this movie is about, and I totally know how to talk about it now. But I wasn't in that position when we made the movie. So yeah, I don't know. That probably had anything to do with what you were saying, but
No, it was far more interesting actually. So I'm glad you answered the question that you had. That was a better question. Go ahead.
Thank you. So I didn't quite understand the question. But
Okay, so just as an actor, plugging yourself into this Cronenbergian world and still having to play these characters, but in something that's very specific, very insular.
yes, it's true that David has a special style, and I have to admit that I didn't quite understand everything when I read the script at first. But I don't think you mind. I mean,
I really didn't care what you thought.
I think that I was just like, I didn't know what to expect, but I jumped in the pool, and I think that it's also what David wants. He wants to
Total submission.
No, he's just like he's an observer of his own work, and I think what he likes, maybe I'm wrong, David, but I think that what he likes is he likes to see how you respond to his script, and I just I had like an intuition about the character, and it was just a feeling, but it's something that is intangible. I couldn't really I mean, it was just like feelings that I had, and to me it was also a metaphor about what it is to be an artist, and this is how I related to the film, and so that's what I did. I just as we do as artists, we just give everything, and our body and our soul and everything basically. But yeah, this is what I tried to do. I just gave everything, and as Caprice in the film, I was very committed to my craft.
This is the fourth movie I've done with him. I'm not sure why, but it's the fourth movie I've done with him. So I'll be very honest too. It was actually excruciating, and to see, you know, because the other actors here, it was the first time, and I was like, oh man, you don't know what you're doing. It's all an act. This nice guy and all that. And it's an act. It's just a ploy to get you to crush your will and basically bring you to your knees psychologically so that you will submit and follow his every whim. And I've been through it before, and I have a masochistic streak, so I'm back. I'm game to do it again, I guess. I don't know what else to do.
That's enough, Viggo. I mean, but honestly, I am, as a director with actors, I could say that Ralph Fiennes, who was the lead actor in my movie Spider, said that was the least directing he ever got in any movie. And he meant that as a compliment, I think. Because a huge part of directing, the sort of, you know, the unknown part, one of the unknown parts, is casting. You cast brilliant actors who are just right for the role, and it doesn't matter if they think they don't know what they're doing. I've had many actors say, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And I say, yeah, you just keep doing that. And I only step in, I really want to see what the actor's intuition is and what the actor brings. So we don't have discussions, we don't rehearse, I don't rehearse. We don't intellectualize. It's all intuitive. Of course, a lot of that is intellectual, but it's sort of mixed with emotion. And when I see what happens on the set, unless there's something that I really think has gone off the rails, I don't say anything. And basically, that's it. I think Lea was expecting me to jump in there after every take and talk about it, and I just say, yeah, great, next shot. You know.
She said to me on the first day, she goes, is he okay? I mean, I go, what do you mean, is he okay? That's a long answer that I could give her. But what do you mean exactly? Well, is he okay with what we're doing? I said, yeah, that's why we're going on to the next shot. But if you have a question about it and you want to try something different, he might listen to you. He might not want to do it again, but he might, you know. But no, seriously, David is he's very clear in his explanations of what's needed, and he does inspire trust, whether it's your first time you've ever met him, first day of work, or whether, like me, you've worked with him before. There's a trust that he inspires because he can back up what he's doing and explain it if need be. You realize that he has your best interests, you know, the character you're playing, at heart as much as anything else, and that trust allows you to try things, you know, without questioning it too much, that you might otherwise not try for other directors so readily, you know, because he can back it up. There's something more to what's going on. It's not just a freakish image or a strange turn of events or dialogue, you know. He inspires trust.
You know, I was going to ask how your working relationship, since this is your fourth film together, had sort of evolved or changed, but you know, you kind of answered it. Like, it really does seem like this incredible sense of trust, because I feel like there are things that Mr. Cronenberg brings out in you performance-wise that I don't necessarily know that I see in other work that you've done. It feels like you're almost encouraged to go to these weird sort of dusty corners and like root around and kind of see what you can find.
I actually do terrible work for him too, but he's a very good editor.
Also, in terms of trust, let's not talk about the NFT I've convinced him to invest in, okay?
You actually do have NFTs though, don't you?
Yeah.
Did it sell?
Waiting for him to buy my kidney stones, that's the next thing. I think I'm joking.
Ms. Stewart, can we go back to Timlin for a second? I sort of like what you said earlier about her being this sort of key pivot character and stuff. Was there something in particular? Was there like a moment or a line or a scene where you felt like you sort of unlocked it?
No, I think
She's still in her character.
shut up. Just like launch myself at Viggo. No, I we kind of did things like pretty much in order, which was really lovely for me because I have like 3 or 4 scenes, and so allowing somebody's sort of artistic protrusion, like how far they stick out of themselves, to infiltrate like your sort of safe bubble. It was probably this scene with me and Viggo, like just the idea that you could be not an artist, but somebody who explodes around, just in the presence of somebody who externalizes what's inside of them, and so it sort of forces you to be like, maybe I want to do that, but I have nothing to say, but I just want to turn myself inside out, and I don't really know why. I think it's like so. Another thing that the movie definitely speaks to is like what is deemed art. Everything. This conversation, are we making art right now? It's like that. It's like when he says like, "Is this tumor? Is this growth? Is this art?" It's like, yeah, absolutely. Fucking A. Put a name on it. Call it art. Absolutely. I really like that. I really like the sweetness. I really like the idea that she did this thing that was grotesque and ugly and kind of ruined everything, but had. I mean, I could be wrong too. I mean, not wrong, but like maybe David has a totally different idea. But like, had the best intentions, wanted to get close to something shiny, just felt in the atmosphere that she had, like, just the temperature change when she met this person. That's like, art does save. Who knows? Maybe that fucking girl would have like gone home and just like became so stagnant in her weird bureaucratic office. Basically, I'm in the movie for 2 minutes, but you just see one person get affected by what art can do in a really concentrated kind of split second. And that's really satisfying to shove that idea into just like, a 2-minute scene. So yeah, that was fun. I like couldn't contain myself. Like it was really fun to have a tiny little room to do it in as well. I never knew what the set was gonna look like when we read the script, and could have been in a huge space. It was in this tiny little room. I was like, wow, it's gonna get really hot. And not in a fucking stupid sexy way, but it was hot.
It was like 110 degrees.
That's not what I
No
meant
air
to say.
conditioning.
But that shit was fun. I was like, how far can we push this? Like, just trying to do a kiss that doesn't look like any other kiss, to do something actually new and like follow instincts and not look like. As an actor, you do stuff a lot in movies. Like you kiss people in movies. You're like, and there's sometimes like default settings that you fall into. You're like, okay, kiss the guy. That's what I'm doing this thing. It's like, this was turn it, look at it from different angles. Look at it from like, get it really inside of something. It was fun.
You said that you guys didn't rehearse, so I'm guessing you just basically, did you do a script read, or was it basically just sort of go in and sort of shoot?
No, script read.
That's pretty much what I figured, yeah. Well, it's okay, so then you have this central relationship between these two characters, between Saul and Caprice, that immediately communicates as history. Like you feel like you've definitely kind of stepped in to this relationship after years and years and years of this sort of partnership. So both of you playing these characters, how quickly did you have to fall into this rapport? How quickly did you kind of establish the connection so that the audience and the camera would pick this up?
We didn't have a lot of time, but we did hit it off right away. We got along, and I saw that she had a good sense of humor, and that you seemed to understand what David wanted to do. Maybe you were bluffing, I don't know. But no, we had you have to have a sense of humor, especially if you're taking chances, and there was a connection right away, which helped. Because it is an important relationship, you know. In the middle of all the strangeness, there's this odd but beautiful kind of love story, you know, really. Mutual respect and give and take, and there's a little bit of competitiveness, a little bit of jealousy. But in the end, you know, they're both very ambitious individually as artists, but in the end, they both, in different ways, sacrifice their own selfish artistic impulses or interests for the physical and mental well-being of the other. Okay, well, I'll have to get used to that idea, but all right, if that's what you want to do, let's go for it. You know? And they both do that, and that's kind of beautiful in any relationship, I think.
Mr. Speedman, can we talk about Lang for a second?
I guess, yeah, sure. If you want to, I don't need to. If you want to, we can.
Oh gosh, thanks. So he's this interesting character in that you meet him as this sort of grieving dad, and then he seems like he's just this like
You meet him as what? Sorry.
as a grieving dad.
Oh yeah.
And then he just seems to be this creep who's skulking around.
I didn't see him that way. But
Okay. And then you kind of start to realize that he's this sort of activist, and then he almost in a weird way becomes I'd argue becomes like the conscience of the movie, because he's the one who's saying like we have to adapt. The world's not going to change, and we seem to have fucked this up, but now we have to figure out how to do this. Now, obviously, you've got somebody who's not going to talk about this stuff with you necessarily.
Well, that's true.
Going into this. So I'm just curious as to like your thought process about having to kind of hit all these beats and bring them to that point.
I mean, I don't think about it as intellectually as that. I mean, yeah, you read the script, you get the offer, and that never happens to me. I woke up one, I got a job. I was like, wow, a Cronenberg movie with Viggo Mortensen. That was really exciting. And then I went to work and read the script over and over and over again and tried to understand it as much as I could, and then just kind of jumped off the cliff. And the one thing David did say to me, was that you really are kind of the emotional center of the movie, and I did understand that. I mean, yeah, it was kind of fun to be kind of off in my own little world a little bit, in my own little movie, and it was kind of fun to go and do that. I was very determined not to play just the grieving dad, the guy that lost his son. I saw a much crazier, more wily, weird kind of character who was slowly losing his mind, not sleeping, and having fun with that. To be honest, I had more fun playing this than a lot of other things, so it was a blast for me.
You just I described your characters. I
think
saw
I
the movie and I was like,
stole
you
that, yeah,
wily
from you.
little fucker. I didn't see it like that. It was really a surprise, honestly.
Yeah, thanks. I stole that from you. Yeah.
I just wanted to let everyone know.
I remember when we did that scene that Kristen was talking about. After we did one take in this little room where she's sort of following me around and corners me, and I had no idea what she was going to do. What she did. I don't know if you did, but after that take, I remember David walked in and went, maybe we're done here. Remember that? You said maybe we're done here.
We were.
That's all you got? Okay. It wasn't like that. You seemed happy at the time.
I was happy and happy enough to do a little coverage to give you some close-ups. If I had to, I did. And even then, they revealed interesting things that you couldn't see in the wide shot, so that justified that. So I think we did one take of that as well. Yeah. But I mean, one take is all you need if it's good. What can I say?
You got to be on your toes. You got to be ready when you work with David Cronenberg, because you might only get that one.
Let me keep this light. Do you think we're devolving as a species? Everybody gets to answer this one.
I think you are. Clearly, we talked about that in the hallway, and I think you're showing definite signs of devolution.
No argument there.
I myself am not. I see signs of it in Viggo, I'm afraid. He's a little younger than I. But in truth, I think we are evolving, not devolving. I think our nervous systems are completely different from human beings 100 years ago. That's because of the technology. There was a time when it was thought that the brain was a static thing established, at the age of like 18 or 20 or whatever it was, and it wouldn't change, and it would only deteriorate. And now, well, there's a famous Nobel Prize winner named Gerald Edelman who said that the human brain is nothing like a computer. It's much more like a rainforest. And there's a lot of competitive Darwinian things happening amongst the neurons, the ones that get used, the ones that don't get used. They struggle for dominance. So it's an ongoing, very active, very creative thing that's going on inside our brains. And so I think just the use of screens, the use of digital technology has actually altered our nervous system. There's no question about that. And that's literal, that's not a metaphor. So we are different. The thing about evolution that people don't understand is that when Darwin talked about evolution, he wasn't talking about it leading gradually to something superior. He was just saying it leads to change, to change the survival of the fittest. So there are philosophers like Hegel who talk about how mankind is gradually going from animal to angel and all of that stuff. That was not what Darwin was talking about. Evolution does not mean going to something better, it means something different. I guarantee you that's happened to everybody in this room. I can sense it. I can feel it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm still
There's
developing
nothing
right
really
now.
to
You guys
say.
have to bear with me. I have one last question. This is a movie about an artist who keeps pushing limits and boundaries and stuff. How autobiographical is this?
Viggo has been very provocative in saying that this is my most autobiographical movie. I have no idea what he's talking about. I think it's a whole ego thing on his part. But I do think, though,
It's just me not wanting to take responsibility for anything that you just saw.
It's obviously, the character of Tensor is really an avatar or a template or a model of the artist who is actually giving everything he can give, opening himself up, giving what is the deepest, most intimate part of himself hidden inside. He's offering it up to his audience, and therefore being incredibly vulnerable to ridicule, to rejection, to misunderstanding, to anger. And to me, that is the model of a true passionate artist. Any art.
Thank you guys so much for coming here. Thank you so much for this movie, and thanks to all of you for being here.